My name is Sherman Jr., Chief Warrant Officer 2, United States Marine, and this is my story. There have been a lot of moments, memorable moments in my military career, but the one that I remember, the one I think all Marines remember, is my first day in boot camp, Parris Island. It's a very historic place. There were these yellow footprints each of us recruits had to stand on. Little did we realize where we were or what we were about to do, until we stood on the same footprints that many Marines, going back a couple of hundred years, stood. Once we appreciated that sense of history, we felt like we were a part of something bigger than ourselves as individuals. Then, when we watched the 1st Marine Corps platoon march by as wide-eyed, undisciplined, brand new recruits ourselves, watching a platoon of 50 to 60 individuals, we started to believe that anything was possible. It'll take hard work. In some cases, it'll require a little blood, sometimes sweat, sometimes tears, but nothing, absolutely nothing, was impossible. I have to be honest, the reason I joined was because I liked the uniforms. I was sitting in the library at McKinley High School in Buffalo, New York, mulling over my future. I knew even as a junior in high school, I wanted to serve my country. So I laid out the pamphlets from each service until I saw a Marine MP, military policeman, on one of them wearing a Delta uniform. I think that was the moment I saw myself in a Marine uniform. I was selected for combat photographer school. Shortly thereafter, a desert storm in the Persian Gulf started, sparking what had to be the scariest moment of my life. As we headed in to stop Saddam Hussein from invading Kuwait. Since most of it entailed dropping bombs and indirect artillery fire, I didn't get to see a lot of the pain and destruction up close. But I did feel the weight of duty, the dangerous kind of duty that we signed up for, but never could have fathomed. I carried on my career as a combat photographer, mostly documenting crash recovery missions, accidents, and crime scenes, and historical events. Most of my experiences in that job opened my eyes to life's realities. For example, on one assignment, I had to document an autopsy for a young Marine who had drowned in the Kentai River in Japan during the monsoon. He was about my age. That was the first time I had seen somebody that young pass away, that up close, his body and me in the same room alone. It was eye-opening because it made me realize that we are not immortal, that our decisions have real consequences. So I went out of my way to deliberately reject the fear. But being deliberate and not letting fear stop me has been the key to my continued success as a Marine across a spectrum of circumstances. It became a habit to a point where fear is just an afterthought, especially when I know there were others depending on me. After the Persian Gulf War ended, and then served as a drill instructor at Parris Island, the place I began my own career as a Marine. After a successful tour there, training over 300 young men and making them Marines, I was promoted to warrant officer and stationed at Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton in 2000. It was during that tour where my life, along with almost everyone else's, would change forever. When 9/11 happened, we were all scared. Marines, civilians, law enforcement, first responders, all of us. But as Marines, we wanted to be the ones that were going to stand up and absorb the nation's fear, so that nobody would have to fear that kind of tragedy again. At the same time, I have to admit we felt vulnerable because it happened here at home. There was a different feel to it, different from the Persian Gulf War experience. This time, all sides were playing for keeps. Unfortunately, a year later, I was injured in a vehicle rollover while I was executing orders to go to 1st Marine Division. Just bad timing for a Marine who looked forward to defending America's soil from terrorists. After suffering a spinal cord injury, I recovered at the VA Medical Center, spinal cord injury unit. I eventually felt that my mission, my purpose in life, was to be able to relate to the guys who were going to be injured severely. Eventually, I decided this was going to be my life's work, taking care of those who took care of America. I think my time in the military, the things I had seen, helped me realize how well I could relate to those people. This whole constellation of experiences came together and made me who I am now. If I had to pick a true turning point, it was when we had a guy there at the hospital who was hurt in Iraq. He needed a lot of surgeries, and he eventually passed away. But before he did, I got to see him come out of his shell. I got to see him smile. He had a daughter, and I had a daughter, so I could relate to him and to his source of happiness through all the misery he had suffered. I'm just happy I got to connect with this American hero, even if it was just at a fleeting point in his happiness. It showed me I have something to contribute, that I can have that kind of impact on somebody who had protected and now needed protection in some way. I think it's that kind of self-fulfillment that some people never get to experience and have that kind of role in life. To be someone's Superman, I guess. To be a Marine. I have a son who will be 13 soon and a daughter who's 8. God forbid one of them should end up catastrophically injured at some point. In any event, I want them to understand that life has value no matter what. In any state, whether it's theirs or someone else's. As for me, I face my own challenges, but every challenge all go back to that same moment where I first believed that nothing, absolutely nothing, is impossible if I just believe.